Okay, so as I mentioned just now, okay, total for chemistry Form 4, okay, you have to learn about 8 chapters, okay, in Form 4 syllabus. And today we are going to our chapter 1, Introduction to Chemistry. Okay, so there are 3 subtopics, okay, for this chapter. Development in chemistry field and its importance in daily life. Okay, this is the first. You'll learn the definition of chemistry and daily product related to chemistry field. Okay, and 1.2 is scientific investigation in chemistry. Okay, so as mentioned just now, this is the same, actually the step of the scientific investigation in physics also. Okay, so the main purpose for this subtopic is let you know what is the thing you have to write, okay, in your compulsory report, and indirectly actually there is the method how you answer the paper 3. Okay, so the last will be usage management and handling apparatus and material. So we go to our first subtopic. So development in chemistry field and its importance in daily life. Okay, so the first one, you have to know the meanings of chemistry. So it's a study about the structure, properties, composition, and interaction between metals. Okay, so this is a definition for chemistry. And chemistry in daily life. Okay, so there are 4 field, okay, we are going to discuss. Okay, so for the first will be the preservative. Okay, so the first field we are going to discuss is the food now. Okay, so the chemical related to the food will be, we have the preservative. Okay, so the preservative is chemical, okay, we use to preserve the food or material against the decaying. Okay, so that means we can ensure that our food can be kept for longer time. Okay, then coloring, you can look at the picture here to make our food look more attractive. Okay, and then we have the flavoring. So the flavoring is a substance that gives different, stronger or more agreeable taste, okay, to your food and drinks. And next here, the chemical used in the food will be antioxidants. Okay, so that means we want to slow down the oxidation rate, okay, so that we can keep the taste, the color of the food, okay, for longer period. Okay, and then the last will be the stabilizer. Okay, so the stabilizer is the substance or additive to the food, okay, which will help to preserve the structure of the food. Example, like we have the jam and we have the yogurt. Okay, for the second field will be, we have to study, okay, discuss about the chemical used in the agriculture. Okay, so for this, the first one will be herbicide. Okay, so the herbicide is a substance that is toxic, okay, to plant, used to destroy the unwanted vegetative plants such as grass. Okay, and next will be pesticide. Okay, so pesticide, a substance also toxic, okay, to control the pests. And we have the fungicide. Okay, so fungicide is a chemical used to kill the parasitic fungi, and then also kill the spore. Okay, because the spore is the thing, okay, to cause the fungi to grow. Okay, and the next will be the fertilizer. Okay, so fertilizer, I think all of you also know, right? Okay, so it's the chemical or material, okay, to supply to the soil so that the plant will get sufficient nutrients. Okay, and the hormone here referring to fetal hormone. Okay, so the fetal hormone actually can be promoting the growth of the roots, okay, and also the shoots. Okay, so the next will be medicine. Okay, so there are here about 5 chemicals. Okay, is related to the medicine. So the first one is the antibiotic. Okay, so the antibiotic. So what is antibiotic? Okay, antibiotic is also known as antibacterial. Okay, antibacterial and there is a medication that destroy or slow down the growth of the bacteria. Okay, and we normally use orally, right? Okay, when you get a higher fever. Okay, because you already get infection by the bacteria. Okay, and the next will be the antiseptic. Okay, normally we will get the antiseptic, okay, in yellow lotion. Okay, so this is a substance that help to slow down, okay, or kill the microorganism. Okay, so it's quite similar to antibiotic. Okay, but the antiseptic is covering more wider area of the microorganism. Okay, maybe it's also including the fungi. Okay, and the antibiotic is more specifically, okay, to the bacteria. Okay, and then the third one is the vitamin. Okay, vitamin is one of the group, okay, 7 classes of food we needed, okay, which you have already discussed your pediatric syllabus. Okay, and the next here we have the chemotherapy. Okay, so the chemotherapy is a cancer treatment, okay, used to actually to keeping the cancer, okay, to avoid them to grow or dividing and spreading in the body. Okay, so this is a cancer treatment. Okay, so the drug using is a type of anti-cancer. Okay, and then we have the analgesic. Okay, analgesic is referring to the painkiller. Okay, painkiller. Okay, so this is the chemical related to the medicine. Okay, and the last one I think is quite straightforward. Okay, so this is the chemical used in the industry. They are paint, polymer, glass, ceramic, detergent, coloring, and alloy. So alloy, I think you all is also understand, right? It's actually the combination of the few type of metal or carbon together. Okay, because we know that in the pure metal itself, the strength is not so high. Okay, so when we're adding another type of the metal, okay, so we can increase the strength of the material. Okay, because the different type of the metal, they have different size. Okay, so it can avoid the starting over, okay, against motion. Okay, maybe this one you can discuss later on. Okay, for alloy. Okay, basically you just need to know currently alloy is actually made up of 2 or more type of metal or carbon. Okay, okay, so this is the chemical we are using, okay, in the different field in our daily life. Okay, okay, so the next will be the development in industry field, the contribution of chemical technology. Okay, so this one I take from the textbook. Okay, so this is the technology in the food preservation. Okay, so you can see initially, okay, so we are using the salt and sugar, okay, to preserve our food. Okay, because the microorganism is not able to stay, okay, in the salt and sugar condition. Okay, so this is the method used by the OH person. Okay, so and then the next we have already improved. Okay, they're using the freezing method. Okay, which they can able to achieve the temperature, okay, which is lower than 0 already. Okay, so this is the food preservation by using the freezing. And you can see the next will be the food preservation using the nanotechnology. So nano, if you read the physics, okay, so the nano is the size smaller as 10 power -9. So that means here the picture given that the bread with the nano capture. So what is the nano capture? Okay, so I actually searching for internet. So this is the information we get. Okay, nano scale shell made from a non-toxic polymer. So that means this is actually a coating layer, okay, above the bread actually. Okay, so why there is a coating on the bread? Actually, they want to avoid the exposure or the contact of the break to the environment. Okay, so as we know that the food will be easily spoiled because of the oxidation and also the decaying process done by the microorganism. So that with the nano capsule, so that means the layer is protected on the surface of the break. So that means the break can be kept for more longer time. Okay, so this is the development of the chemistry, okay, in the food preservation technology. Okay, so this is the info we get from the textbook. Okay, okay, so the next, the carrier related to chemistry. Okay, so this is a quite similar topic and for one chapter science. Okay, okay, so here we have actually total 5 different field and the carrier related to the field. Okay, so the first one is a biotechnology. Okay, so the biotechnology related carrier will be biotechnology researcher, and here is a biomedical engineer. Okay, so the biotechnology, here I also get the info from the internet. Okay, actually it's a technology that utilizes biological system, living organism or parts of this to develop or create different products. Okay, so if you read this sentence, maybe it's quite difficult to understand. Okay, so if we simplify to our daily life, the biotechnology is actually quite close to our daily life. For example, when we have the bread making field, okay, we try to relate the enzyme, okay, which is the amylase. It can use to break down the flour into the sugar. So this is the more related of the biotechnology field in our daily life. Besides that, some of the patients which is suffering with the diabetes, okay, so they will inserting the synthetic insulin in their body. Okay, so because we know that the insulin is a hormone controlling the sugar level in your blood. Okay, so the patient need to have the synthetic insulin to control their glucose level in their blood. Okay, so this is a field related daily product, okay, we can see in the biotechnology. And the next will be the nanotechnology. So when you see nano, so that means the technology will be related to very, very small particles. Okay, so here you can be nanotechnology engineer, food scientist. Okay, so here we have one example. Okay, so with the small particles, okay, which is applied in the medical field. Okay, so the particles is actually attracted to the disease cell. Okay, so which allow direct treatment to those diseases cell. Okay, so this is the medical field related to the nanotechnology. Okay, they're using the small particle to cure the cell which have their problem. Okay, okay, so informally, okay, the definition for nanotechnology will be manipulation of metal on a near atomic scale. So that means very small particles, okay, to produce new structure, material, and devices. Okay, so this is the carrier related. Okay, I already mentioned just now. And here is a pharmaceutical. Okay, so the carrier related with doctor and pharmacist. So the definition here is a substance used in the diagnosis, treatment, or prevention of disease and for restoring, correcting, or modifying organic function. So in simple way, this is the field where produce medical product. Okay. And the last two will be the green technology. Okay, so you can become green technology chemist, engineer. Okay, so this is the use of technology and science to reduce human impact on the natural environment. Okay, so you can look at the figure here. They already try to using the alternative energy, okay, to instead the use of the fossil fuels. Okay, and the last one will be the domestic. Okay, can become domestic chemist, domestic consultant. Okay, so this is the any product, okay, or substance used to clean, improve, or change the complexion, skin, hair, nail, or teeth. Okay, so this is the 5 related carrier to the respective field. Okay. Okay, so I have already finished the subtopic. Okay, 1.1. Okay, so this is the exercise actually you can get at your textbook. Okay, so test yourself 1.1 is at textbook. Okay, page number 8. Okay, page number 8. Okay, so what is means by the chemistry? Okay, so this I already mentioned in the first slide. Okay, I think we discussed together the answer. Okay, later on you can do at your exercise too. Okay. Okay, so the answer here is the chemistry is one of the science that study structure, properties, composition, and the interaction of matter. Okay, so this is sentence from my first slide. Okay. Okay, so and then the question asks about this type of the chemical used in daily life. Okay, so we have many type of chemicals at our second slide. Okay, which we separate into 4 different fields. Okay, so you can just choose any product from the respective field. Okay, so here given the answer has preservative, vitamin, okay, pesticide, and detergent. Okay, so you can just choose any answer here. Okay, or you want to use the answer for the slide also can. Okay. Okay, so the next question is give one example of the development of the chemistry industry. Okay, so here still we got many answers, but we just discussed one of the development, right? Just now we discussed about the food preservation. Okay, so the answer from the book actually is given food preservation. Actually, you can get another answer also. Okay. And the next will be list out at least 3 carrier related to the chemistry in the following situation. Okay, so the first one, searching for an antidote for dengue fever. Okay, so this is the antidote is referring to the pharmaceutical field, right? Okay, so the pharmaceutical, just now we mentioned that the related carrier will be doctor, pharmacist. Okay, actually researcher also is acceptable. So for the answer. Okay. Okay, so for B, producing palm tree with high contents of oil. Okay, so to produce high contents of oil, that means we need to do some genetic modification at the tree, palm tree. Okay, so here is related to the biotechnology already. Okay, so we can choose the carrier related to the biotechnology field. Okay, so there are biotechnology researcher, farmer, biotechnology engineer. Okay, so this is the answer for this question. Okay, so we have already finished the discussion for our first test, for section 1.1. So we go to our next subtopic, scientific investigation in chemistry. Okay, so this is actually same step as the scientific investigation in the physics. Just the experiment is different. In chemistry and the physics. In physics, we're using the relationship between the length of pendulum, and the time taken for the oscillation, and then we find out the acceleration of gravity, right? If you already study your physics textbook. So now we give the example for chemistry. Okay, so scientific investigation is defined as the scientific method used in solving problems in science. So this is also valid for biology and also physics. And can carry out an investigation to solve problems by using scientific method. So what is a scientific method? So it's a systematic method used by the scientist, researcher to solve problems related to science. So this is the definition for the scientific method. Okay, so now look at the scientific method. So this is the steps involved, okay, in the scientific method. The first, making observation, okay, using 5 senses to gather information about the object, okay, in the phenomenon taking place, okay. And then the second is making an inference, okay, using data collection, past experience to make a conclusion, explanation about an event. Okay, so this is making an inference. And identifying the problem, okay, so asking question based on the inference made, okay, so that means the inference will be a question, identify the problem will be the question related to the inference, okay. And making a hypothesis, so making a general statement about the relationship between MV will be manipulated variable and responding variable to explain an event or observation. So this statement can be tested to prove its validity. So that means if your hypothesis is accepted, you become the conclusion. Okay, if not, you have to repeat the experiment by change your hypothesis. Okay, and prove again your hypothesis is correct. Okay, and then the next will be the identifying variable. So the variable here is we have 3 variables. Manipulated variable is the variable we need to change. Okay. And the responding variable is the variable that we need to measure, we need to observe. And the controlling variable is the variable which is fixed in your experiment. Okay? Okay, so this is the picture related. Okay, so the next step number 6 will be controlling variable and investigation variable manipulated to observer relating with RV. Okay, other variable are fixed. Okay, so that means here is a fixed variable lah. Okay, so planning an experiment, determining material, apparatus to be used, procedure of the experiment, method of the collecting data, and the way to analysis, interpret the data. Okay, so you have to have your step for your experiment. Okay, so the next will be collecting data, making observation, measurement, recording the data systematically. Okay, so this is the collecting data. And then the next one will be interpreting data, organizing and interpreting the data collected. Okay, so here maybe you need to plot a graph. Okay, as mentioned here, data can be interpreted through calculation, graph, chart. Okay, determine the relationship between the variables. Normally it will be MV and RV lah. Okay, making a conclusion, making a statement on the result of experiment on whether the hypothesis can be accepted or rejected. So as I mentioned just now, okay, so at the earlier, before we conducting an experiment, we have to state our hypothesis, and we need to prove our hypothesis, is it correct or wrong. If let's say we successful, okay, tested our hypothesis is correctly, then that means the conclusion will be based on the hypothesis and will be accepted. Okay, or if let's say the hypothesis is rejected, which is not fulfill the criteria you want to get, okay, so that means you have to repeat and redo the hypothesis until you able to prove your hypothesis is actually correct. Okay, and then last will be preparing a report, publication in detail on all aspects of experiment, so that the outcome can be shared for the development of chemistry knowledge. Okay, so here is the first experiment. Okay, you actually want to you need to do lah. Okay, so the main purpose here is actually let you know what is the item you need to write, okay, in your compulsory report, and the question of the paper 3 is also will be quite similar to your compulsory experiment report. Okay, so the first you have to give the aim, okay, of the experiment. So for this experiment will be to investigate the effect of the temperature on solubility of the sodium chloride water. Okay, so here the manipulated will be the effect of the temperature. So from the question, you can know what is the manipulated here. And the responding variable here will be the solubility, okay, of the chloride, sodium chloride in your water. Okay, so if the question given you the aim of the experiment, okay, so probability of the question will be asking is actually got two types of questions. One will be the question which the procedure and the diagram is given. Okay, so this is a guided type of the question, so it will be quite easy for you. If let's say the question given you the type of the non-guided practical question, so that means the question will not give you the procedure and the diagram. Okay, so you must plan your experiment, okay, according to the aim. Normally the question will given you the aim. So from here we can know that, okay, the effect of temperature, that means that we need to give a different reading, okay, different reading, how the temperature affecting the solubility. So if let's say we have the higher temperature, so we expected the solubility time will be reduced with the same amount of the sodium chloride. Okay, sodium chloride actually is a salt. Okay, so for example, for your experiment here, if let's say the question is not given any procedure, first you have to relate your MV to your RV here lah. So that means temperature, maybe we have to give 5 reading, maybe 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. Okay, that means that we need to get our time for the salt, okay, to dissolve fully in the water lah. Okay, so you have your another 5 reading here. Okay, but here give only 2. Okay. Okay, so and the fixed variable here will be the mass for the sodium chloride. Okay, so that means this all thing you have to know. Okay, especially you conducting your experiment and also your paper 3. Okay. Okay, so the second one is problem statement. Does the temperature affect the solubility of sodium chloride in water? So that means you can see that the problem statement is a question which is relating the MV, which is the temperature water. Okay, sorry, it will be until water. So MV will be here. And then your RV will be solubility of the sodium chloride. Okay, so that means you need to memorize how you write your problem statement. Okay, so the question will be, does the MV affect the RV? Okay, so this is the way you write the problem statement if the question asks you to do so. Okay, so hypothesis. Okay, so hypothesis will be MV and RV also. Okay, as the temperature of water increase, the time taken for sodium chloride dissolve will be lower, shorter. Okay, so you need to give this type of the answer. And the manipulator as per discussion will be the temperature of water. Responding will be the solubility of the sodium chloride in water. Or you can just mention time taken for sodium chloride to dissolve also can. Okay, it's also acceptable. Okay, the next will be the volume of water. Okay, so the volume of water can be fixed, or the mass of the sodium chloride is also can be fixed. Okay, so you can give the answer which is logical. Okay, and the apparatus is this up here. Okay, and material will be here. Okay, so the apparatus and the material will be given, okay, in the question of paper 3. Okay, you don't need, so that means you don't need to memorize the apparatus, because the apparatus might be already have some modification in your compulsory experiment you have already conducted at your school. Okay. Okay, so the next will be the procedure. Okay, so for this experiment, measure 50 cm3 of the distilled water using a measuring cylinder. Pour the distilled water into the beaker. Okay. Weigh 40 grams of sodium chloride using an electronic balance. Add the sodium chloride to the beaker containing distilled water. Stir the mixture with the glass load. Okay, so you can look at the picture and try to imagine. Okay, so start the stopwatch immediately and record the time taken for the salts to dissolve completely in water. Repeat the step 1 to 6 using water at 80 degrees Celsius. So record your observation in the table. So here, the experiment is only ask you to use two different reading of the water temperature, which is the room temperature. Another one will be at T. So that means we will expect the result of the time taken for room temperature will be longer. For example, you get maybe 15 seconds. So your 80 degrees Celsius water will be expected lower than 50, right? So that means when you're doing the experiment, okay, so you must know what is the trend of your responding variable are going to get, right? Okay, not say, oh, you totally don't know what to do and what is the expected reading. Okay, and out you will keep repeating your experiment and you have no time to complete your paper 3. Okay, because the duration for one subject of the paper 3 is about 45 minutes and minus 5 minutes for checking the apparatus, and you will only left 40 minutes, and you have only left 40 minutes to complete your paper 3 question. So that means you need to do experiment, and after that you have to do the question, and the marker will only see your answer sheet. Okay, he or she to know what you are actually doing at your experiment. So that means I actually advise that you maximum 20 minutes you have to complete your experiment. Okay, and immediately go to answer your paper 3. Okay, so you have many time, okay, to do your compulsory experiment. So take every opportunity, okay, to involve yourself, okay, to hands-on, okay, to hands-on the experiment, and also you must understand, okay, so how to do the compulsory report, okay, because all item here is will be the question for your paper 3. Okay. Okay, so the next, okay, so I actually finished the section 1.2 already. Okay, so let us discuss together. Okay, so the test yourself 1.2, okay, you can actually get the question at your textbook. Okay, so at the page, at the page number 11. Okay. Okay, so we can also discuss together the answer. If you have any idea, okay, you can just voice up and we can discuss together. Okay, so what is the means by scientific method? So this is a definition. So we just get from our notes. Okay, so the scientific method is a systematic method used by scientists and researchers when solving problems in science. Okay, so this is the answer for the definition. And what is the scientific method? Importance in chemistry, state your opinion. Okay, so why scientific method is very important? Okay, so here, because the scientific method help scientists to solve problem through systematically scientific method. Okay, scientific step. For example, just now started with the there are step-by problem statement, inference, then you have to state the variable and others. Okay, so you just follow the step and you can get what is the problem actually you have to solve. Okay. Okay, so the next here is actually the experiment. Okay, ask you to plan. Okay, so here you are given a bucket of ice cube. Okay, this is the first material. And then you have the sugar, measuring cylinder, and the stopwatch. Okay, so plan an experiment to determine whether sugar increase the melting rate of the ice. Okay. Okay, so that means that is it when we increasing the amount of the sugar, then the melting rate will be changed. So what is your expectation? If let's say the question come up this statement, okay, so what is the theory you can relate it? So actually in PT3 you have already learned regarding the impurities, effect of the impurities in the boiling point, melting point, and also the density. Okay, according to theory. So when we add on the impurities such as the sugar, such as the salt, we expected the boiling point will be decreased, which is better than the 100 degrees Celsius, and the melting point of the water will be decreased lower than 0 degrees Celsius, while the density will be decreased as the formula for the density with mass divided by volume. Okay, so as the amount of sugar increase, the mass will be increased and the density will be increased. So from the theory, we learned that we know that when we adding more sugar, okay, so the melting point will be decreases. Okay, so that means that the melting rate will be also decreased because the melting point is already lower than 0 degrees Celsius. So there is need more heat to change the ice become water. Okay, so that means we expected when the amount of sugar increase, the melting rate will be decreased. Okay, so that means how we can measure the melting rate. So that means we can measure how many ice is actually already melted with the fixed period. So that means we give the firstly we need to give the pure ice, okay, maybe put at the same place and we take maybe 5 minutes. So how many ice is already changed to the liquid? So we measure the melted ice which is already changed to the liquid, and then we can add on. If let's say we put 10 grams of the sugar, so after 5 minutes, how many ice is also already changed to liquid? So we expected with the addition of the sugar, the volume we get will be lower, which is showing that the melting rate is become slower. Okay, and then if let's say we do another experiment with the amount of the sugar which is more than the previous, let's say the previous one we're using 10 grams and the next one we're using 40 grams. So we also expected the melted volume of liquid will be lower than the previous one, which is showing that the melting rate is actually becomes lower. Okay, so here is the idea for the answer. Okay, so the hypothesis, the addition of the sugar will increase the rate of melting. So this is expected because of, okay, so we see what is the answer here. The next, mass of the sugar used, and then the next will be rate of the melting of ice, temperature, type of the sugar used, and mass of the ice. Okay, so this is a fix. So this is what we expected. Okay, just the result. This is reverse way with what I expected actually. Okay, okay, but this is a good answer actually. Okay, so the procedure here: wet 200 grams ice and put in the small cube. Okay, so this is considered as a pure ice. Okay, and then put the small cube in the sheltered place for 5 minutes. Okay, so this is our fixed variable. Okay, and then the next will be after 5 minutes, use a measuring cylinder to measure the volume of the water. Okay, and then record the reading and write in the table. So the question should ask you to plan only. So you need to give the hypothesis, variable, and the procedure. Okay, and here the question not ask you to get the result. Okay, but I already discussed the result. Okay, but I expected with addition of the sugar, the rate of the melting will become lower. Okay, my expectation is like this. Okay, I'm not sure that this statement is correct or not. Okay, however, this is just a discussion about the plan of the experiment. Okay, we not yet conduct our experiment. If I say we conduct the experiment and prove that this statement is wrong, so we have to change our hypothesis. Okay, we have to change our hypothesis and we have to redo our experiment. Okay, until we prove that our hypothesis is accepted and only we can make a conclusion. Okay, so this is the procedure. So the main purpose for this question is actually ask you to plan an experiment. Okay, and the result is what not expected. to this question actually. Okay, so and the fifth step, step number 5 will be repeating the experiment with addition of 10 grams of the sugar, 30 grams of sugar and 50 grams of sugar. So as my expectation, the volume of the water melted for the 50 grams of the sugar will be lower as I explained for my expected result. But if let's say we follow the result for this hypothesis, when we have increasing the sugar, the melting rate will be increased. So that means that for the answer for this group, that means that the 50 grams of sugar expected will produce more melted volume of liquid. So this is the thing we can imagine by the answer given by the hypothesis. So we have to see, is it this experiment is same as the answer of the book, or with what I expected, we can actually try the experiment and prove that. Let's say the answer for the hypothesis is correct, so it will become the conclusion. If not, we have to change the hypothesis. So come here will be our last subtopic for chapter 1. Usage, management and handling apparatus and material. So laboratory is an important place for learning chemistry, can be dangerous place too. So that means in this section 1.3 is teach you, remind you how to manage and handling the apparatus and material in the science laboratory. So the first one is a personal protection equipment for the student and their function. So this part is quite similar to the chapter 1 for general science also actually. So you can look at the figure. We have total 5 protective equipment for the student. The first one will be goggle, second will be face mask, third will be glove, fourth will be lab coat, fifth will be glow shoes. So the goggle is used to protect the eyes from chemical splash, and the face mask to protect the nose and the mouth from inhaling strong chemical smell and dust. Glove to protect hands from toxic chemical substances. Then the fourth lab coat is used to protect the body and the blood from dirt and chemicals. Then the last one will be the closed shoes, used to protect the feet from chemical spill or glass pieces. So this is the personal protection equipment and its function. And the next will be the protection equipment in the laboratory. So total we have 3 protective equipment going to discuss in this chapter. The first one will be laminar flow cabinet, used to prevent contamination from biological sample while conducting microbiological activities. So you can see the air is flow through the HEPA filter. So the HEPA filter will be here, the lower part, and we have another upper part. So the red color arrow representing the contaminated air. So that means the air is actually produced by the chemical or the biological sample as stated here. So and we have together with the laboratory air, and both of the air will be go through the HEPA filter and then come out the clean air is showing by the green color arrow. So the next will be the film chamber. Used to carry out experiment that use substances which are volatile, that means easy to vaporize, flammable, easy to be burned, and poisonous, corrosive, and functions. So this is chemicals which is which you will smell a very strong unpleasant smell. So we need to use the film chamber. Okay, you can see at the figure here. Okay, so actually using the airflow. Okay, you can see the figure here. So it will suck the chemical, okay, to upper parts. Okay, so that means to control the exposure of the chemical while conducting the experiment. Okay, so here we have two movable figure, right? Okay, so here is less effective control because the door here is not lying down, so the volatile, the poisonous chemical is still able to exposure to our body. So you have to follow the more effective control where the door have to slide down. Okay, only your hand will be put inside the film chamber there. Okay, then other part of the body should be hide from the chemicals. Okay, so that we can avoid ourselves to inhale the poisonous gas. Okay, so this is a film chamber, and the last one will be safety shower together with the eye wash station. Okay, so we discuss the safety shower first. Okay, used to immediately clean and rinse parts of the body or clothing that have to come into contact with chemical substances. Okay, so that means that if I say if we have the chemical spill, okay, or splash, okay, at your body, you must rinse under the safety shower, just like the shower at your home. Okay, and then the next will be used to immediately rinse and wash the eyes that has come into contact with chemical substances. Okay, so this is a figure, okay, which is already enlarged, okay, showing the eye wash station. Okay. Okay, so then the next will be the method of the managing, handling apparatus and chemicals. Okay, so here the first we discuss about the storage of the chemical. Okay, so the air is the reactive substances. Okay, there is a Li represent lithium, sodium, and potassium. Okay, so these three of the chemical is actually group 1 in periodic table. Okay, you can refer back, okay, the periodic table which you actually learned in your form 1 chapter 6. Okay, okay, so the reactive method have to store in the paraffin oil. Okay, so you can look at the figure here. There is the paraffin oil. Okay, there is a paraffin oil inside the bottle together with the reactive metal. Okay, so to prevent reaction with the moisture in the air, because our air contains of the oxygen, so the oxidation can cause the substance, so the reactive substance such as lithium to have this reaction. Okay, so must be stored in the paraffin oil. Okay, the second, okay, we have the hydrocarbon and organic solvent. So that means there is the hydrogen and carbon, okay, in this material, such as we have the petrol, we have kerosene. Alcohol is also considered as the organic solvent. Okay, okay, so here the example is given already, hydrocarbon and organic solvent. So they are volatile, inflammable liquid, so should be stored in shady area, okay, far from the sunlight and the heat source. Okay, so this is the storage method for hydrocarbon and organic solvent. And C is regarding the substance that decompose easily. Okay, so the figure here is actually representing as the hydrogen peroxide, H2O2. Okay, so the type of the example for this chemical will be have concentrated nitric acid, hydrogen peroxide, silver nitrate, liquid bromide, and chloride. Okay, so substances that decompose easily in the presence of light are stored in the dark. So that means we need to store this type of material in the dark condition. Okay, because the reaction of the chemical will be occur when it's exposure to the light. Okay, and the next will be substance with pH value less than 5, which showing that is a strong acid, and the pH value greater than 9, showing that the substance is a strong alkaline. So that means D will be the substance which is strong acid and alkaline. Okay, so as we know that the strong acid and alkaline is a very corrosive material. Okay, so we need to have a proper way to store this type of the corrosive chemical. So here, stored in the spatial storage cabinet, there are keep locked. Okay. Okay, so the last here will be heavy metal and toxic substances. Okay, should be kept in spatial label container and keep in locked room, which is heat free. So that means that the heavy metals is also considered easy to be burned. Okay, so that's why it mentioned it should be also kept in the heat-free environment. Okay, so we discuss the next part will be the disposal of the chemicals. Okay, so as mentioned, we have the many type of the chemical at previous slide. Okay, so here how we dispose the chemical after the experiment. Okay, so here is we have the hydrogen peroxide, we have the solid waste, organic solvent and hydrocarbon, we have the strong acid and alkaline, heavy metal, toxic substance and volatile substances. Okay, so how we dispose these 6 types of the waste. Okay, you can look at the figure. Okay, so the first, let us discuss the disposal method for hydrogen peroxide. Okay, so the figure here is showing the hydrogen peroxide. Okay, so it's a substance that decomposes easily. Okay, so with the low concentration, can be poured directly into the sink. So that means this is no any risk to the environment for the low concentration. So you can straight away disposal to sink. Okay, and the next with high concentration, so they will be give a very bad effect if we not handle properly. So has to be diluted with water and added with sodium sulfide for the decomposition process in place. Then can be poured into the sink. So that means need to dilute and then mix with the sodium sulfide so that the concentration of the hydrogen peroxide will be decreased. Okay, the second type will be waste, solid waste. Okay, so you can look at the figure here. There is a glove and a glass bottle and glass. Okay, so have to be disposal into special container. Okay, then we have the organic metal and hydrocarbon. So as mentioned, example we have petrol, kerosene. Okay, so they are very easy to vaporize. Okay, so they are the volatile, flammable chemical. Okay, as you have the experience, follow your parents. Okay, to refill the petrol as gas station. Okay, you can actually smell from the petrol. Okay, because the petrol is one of the hydrocarbon which is actually easy to vaporize. Okay, so more substances are toxic, carcinogenic can cause cancer, volatile and inflammable. This waste cannot be disposed directly into the sink or train, should be kept in a special container made of the glass or plastic. Okay, so this is the example. Okay, so next will be strong acid with the pH value less than 5 and the strong alkaline with the pH value greater than 9. Okay, so both can cause damage to the sink because they have that is very corrosive. Okay, and react with the water to release high heat and toxic gases. Okay, strong acid and alkaline waste should be kept in closed label container during exposure. So you can look at the figure. So you need to label as the picture for the strong acid and alkaline. Okay, so the next will be the heavy metal and toxic substances. Solution containing heavy metal and toxic substance have to keep in a plastic bag. Okay, here. And the solution be left to evaporate in the film chamber. Okay, so film chamber will be here. Then the bag of heavy metal residue is tightened carefully and is put into the container of heavy metal waste. okay, will be like this with label. The type of the substance should be discharged and disposed according to a standard procedure. Okay, and the next will be the volatile substance. Here we have the alcohol, ammonia, bromide. Okay, here mentioned they are volatile, easily convert to the gas at the room temperature. Okay, so some of the gases released are hazardous. Hazardous means dangerous, okay, to human. Okay, can be fatal if inhaled in large quantity. Volatile waste should be stored in closed container and kept away from sun and heat, okay, because they are flammable. Okay, so emergency. Okay, so this is an emergency management procedure in the laboratory. So as we already know that the chemicals is poisonous, volatile, flammable, and they have a lot of negative impact to our body. Okay, so let's say when we're doing the experiment, okay, so the chemical is spilled. Okay, so what we should do? So here, when we handle the general chemical spill, okay, so this is the step you have to follow. First, inform our teacher or lab assistant. Second, declare the spill area as a restricted zone. Okay, you can see at the figure. Prevent the chemical spill from spreading using an absorbent paper, absorbent powder, or salt. Okay, you can look at the figure here. Okay, they're using the absorbent material to absorb the chemical. And then scoop up the chemical spill using appropriate equipment. Okay, and the last will be dispose it safely. Okay, with the label, okay, for the dustbin. Okay, and then the another one is more dangerous one. Okay, so and this is a most common accident. Okay, occur during the experiment. Okay, the students who is careless, okay, broken, okay, the thermometer. So as we know that the thermometer contains of the mercury. So mercury is a volatile, is a poisonous substance, okay, so which may cause mercury poisoning. Okay, so here you can see mercury is volatile at room temperature. Mercury vapor poisons the air, so that means it will be very dangerous. If let's say we inhale the mercury vapor, do not touch mercury spill because it can absorb into your body through the skin and causing the mercury poisoning. So here got nausea, coughing, vomiting, diarrhea, chest pain, sore throat, difficulties in breathing, headache, eyes irritation, vision problem, increase in blood pressure. Okay, so that means it's very dangerous. So how we can do, if I say what we can do, what is the step to handle the mercury spill? So the first, you have to inform the teacher. Second, declare the spill area, which is same as the chemical spill. And then third, you have to sprinkle the sulfur to cover the mercury spill. Okay, if the mercury spilling is seriously, okay, you have to call the fire department. Okay, so that means you need to handle mercury spill more carefully. Okay, so we have also already finished our subtopic, okay, 1.3. So let us discuss the last part, okay, for the discussion today. Test yourself 1.3. So this is also one of the exercise, okay, you can find at your textbook. Okay, so it is at the page number 18. Okay, page number 18. Okay, so list out 3 safety steps while in the laboratory. Okay, so this is a quite straightforward answer here. Do not play in the laboratory. Wear protective equipment when carrying out experiment. Okay, as per discussion just now, right? Okay, so we have the protective equipment for the students and also the protective equipment when we conducting our experiment. So do not bring food and drinks into the laboratory. Okay, so this is a discussion for the question 1. Okay, so the question number 2, give the function of the following equipment. So field chamber is used to control the exposure chemical, which are volatile, flammable, poisonous, corrosive, or pungent, while conducting the experiment. So the answer is I just take from the previous slide. Okay, so how about the safety shower? So again, I take the answer from the previous discussion. Used to immediately clean and rinse parts of the body or clothing that have come into contact with chemical substances. Okay, the next, laboratory coat to protect body and the clothes from dirt and chemicals. Okay, so this is the discussion for the question number 2. Okay, the next question, how would you manage solid waste such as glass, rubber in the laboratory? Okay, so this is a solid waste, so that means dispose into the special container. Also follow the instruction which I already mentioned in the previous slide. And the 4th, explain how you would test the presence of oxygen and hydrogen gases. Okay, so that means that the chapter 1 actually asks you some of the theory you have actually learned in your PT3 already. So the test of the oxygen, which you actually need to know already, and no more further study in the Form 4 syllabus already. Okay, you must keep in your mind that the oxygen is tested with blowing wooden cylinder. Okay, so the blowing split will be 3 kinds. Okay, because the oxygen support combustion. Okay, so this is the answer for test of the oxygen. And the hydrogen, we using burning spindle, right? Okay, so it will be give the pop sound. So put a lighted wooden spindle at the mouth of the test tube, a pop sound will be here. Okay, so this is the basic knowledge you have to know already. Okay, before you go more further study Form 4 chemistry. Okay, so explain how you can get the most accurate reading in titration. Okay, so the titration is actually the method for the neutralization, which you already also learned in your Form 2 syllabus. Okay, so here repeat the titration until the difference of 2 volume value does not exceed 0.05 cm3. Okay, what means by this? Okay, so here we have the example of the neutralization between the acid and alkaline. Okay, so we're using the indicator, which is the phenolphthalein. Okay, it will be appear as the pink color in alkaline condition. So initially in the acid condition, so initially acid together with the phenolphthalein. Okay, so it will be in colorless. So we need to drop drip by drip for our alkaline, so that it will be reach neutralization. Okay, so that means that we must make sure that the last drop is the end of the neutralization process. So here, that means we can see our bill rate here. We have the sensitivity, which is about 0.1 cm3. So if let's say your difference is more than 0.1. So here say 0.05 cm3, that means your experiment have to repeat it until the deviation is less than the 0.05. Okay? So that's all for my discussion for chapter 1. Okay, so I have already finished the chapter 1. Okay, 同学们，拜拜。
谢谢老师。
OK，拜拜。
谢谢老师。
拜拜。
谢谢老师。
OK，好，明天见。
Thank you, teacher.
OK，拜。